maybe we can get started. We all hear a wonderful lecture from John, and maybe we can continue the discussion here as well. Maybe I will also just give a short introduction to the other speakers. This is Zoey. I think Zoey was once a winner of our Villagers Hackathon, and then she started to have her own startup called Flick. Yeah. Yeah, and also we have Juan here. He's a producer and also have your own startup or co-founded one. Yeah, maybe you can give a self-introduction and talk about what is your role in the film.
Yeah. Hi everyone. I'm Zoey. I'm co-founder of Flickart, and I'm also AI filmmaker. And that's it.
I am Juan Diego from Colombia. I am a producer by definition, I guess. I have a production company. We produce approximately 8 films per year, and it's kind of like what you would think as a traditional production company. We sell to studios and studios. So very excited to be here and be learning from filmmakers.
We're all good friends. John Rosenberg is still here.
Yeah, so we saw some unfinished slides, and also, but personally, I'm very curious. So in the AI film era, what do you think will change in the filmmaking skills or techniques? Like, for example, the montage and all other stuff. We saw AI have some limitations, but AI also have some special advantages. So what do you think is changing in all the techniques and skills here? Like you may want to mention to our audience.
Yeah, I think the biggest change would be like there are no physical offset shots. Yeah. So and also and I think like pre-production and post-production and production will build together. We can back and forth to edit and generate image and just build together and back and forth. Yeah, something like that. But I think something it doesn't change would be the root of storytelling. So people always said AI gonna replace human creativity or something. I don't think so. I think so. There's a lot of amazing film finalists. There is a human and AI, but a lot of people say, "Oh my God, AI is so impressive," but nobody sees the behind the scenes of human who direct the story. So I think the core will be still. The core of storytelling still belong to human. Yeah.
I guess for me, I try to think of what I hope won't change. And something that I like a lot about film is that it's the most collaborative form of art. If you think of music, it takes probably 3 to 5 people to make, a band. If you think of theater, it's probably tens of people. Like the biggest set that I have had is 1,000 people. And when you see what these 1,000 people are doing, when you see kind of like a shot like Pulp Fiction, there is a whole team dedicated to the blood, a whole team dedicated to editing, a whole team dedicated to wardrobe. So I hope that with AI, this collaboration form of art doesn't change. I hope that AI artists will, the craftsmanship behind filmmaking, I hope it doesn't change. So that AI artists will go into wardrobe or into emotion directing or into, then there is a combination of different type of AI artists, and that will bring beautiful films. I hope it's not one AI artist writing prompts and boom, there's a film. I hope that doesn't happen.
Yeah, I think you both make really good points. I agree, and I think though we still will preserve human creativity, because as we've seen so far, at least, AI it borrows from other medium, it borrows from other sources. But it doesn't create on its own. So it needs some human who feels and has emotions and who has had experiences to feed into that. On the other hand, it's true, AI is going to make many things so much easier. And I think it will actually begin to consolidate filmmaking to where you could have one person who's doing most of the work. I actually think in terms of the auteur editor, which, the French New Wave coined the phrase the auteur director, which was the idea that the director could author a movie, which isn't really that the case, at least in entirety, and it wouldn't be the case in entirety with the auteur editor, but editors used to just cut the film and put it together, but now they handle so many aspects of post-production, from the music and editing the music, to visual effects, to color timing, to all those sort of things. So I think you'll see more and more of that consolidated in the editing space as we go forward. And of course, to the point that if they need a shot, and this is something I've often run into, there's a piece of the puzzle that's missing, and we used to either have to do reshoots or find the footage somewhere else in the dailies and steal a shot to fill out the story. But now with AI, you can make the shot, which I've actually done that a couple times, and it worked out surprisingly well, especially if it's a shot like an establishing shot or something like that that's not directly connected, that doesn't sit directly next to the rest of the footage. So there's a lot of great potential still to come.
Yeah, thanks all for the discussion. So I was actually the founder of this hackathon maybe 4 to 5 years back. At that time, I remember the first panel we had, people were panicking. People are worried about losing jobs, but it doesn't seem so so far. So I want to ask a very sharp question. So did you observe any changes in the demand, and what roles are they? For example, I heard some people really like character designers and also the costume designers because they write the perfect prompt to make the character look nice and act very well. So, and also people like traditional directors and photographers, but maybe they don't like actors anymore. So what do you think just around you? Do you see people kind of losing jobs, or are they switching to AI film? And if so, the last very sharp question is that, will they have higher salary or lower, like per hour? Because I know AI makes people work longer as well. So what do you think?
I think in the future it's gonna have like a new job. Will be AI native filmmaker, not like filmmaker. AI native filmmaker. They used to maybe an engineer or like illustration or something like that. And also I think, yeah, you're right. Like we're gonna for some like a specialist like a character designer, AI native character designer, or like scene designer. But I think for traditional filmmaker or like a actor, might be a little bit dangerous. Yeah.
What about pay? Do they get higher pay, do you think?
I think if you can adopt AI very fast, you're gonna get higher pay than before. Yeah, and this is a big opportunity for everyone. Yeah.
Yeah, I was trying to think out of like that huge cruise, 1,000 people on set, like how many are logistic. I think those are going to go away mostly, like drivers, people in catering. I guess it's going to transform more into artists, which I like it. So I think like many jobs are going to be just transformed. From a pay standpoint, I'm not sure, to be honest. I think at least in Colombia is the industry that pays the most to non-college education, with people with a non-college education background, even more than oil and gas. So I'm not sure how that will, the barriers of entry are lower, but I'm not very sure if like the industry will grow.
I think that the pay aspect has been commerce aspect is still yet to be seen, a lot of that. But I can equate it a little bit, I think, to what happened when we moved from film, physical, photochemical production to digital production. And at first, there was this big fear, similar to the fear that we're having now, that certainly many of my students have, which is that they're going to not be able to get work, that jobs will go away. But what ended up happening was more jobs were created, but in different directions. And the field now is much more populated than it used to be. So I think in some ways it bodes well, but particularly if we start to look at these things as tools, not usurpers, they're not going to take the jobs away, but it will definitely take jobs away. I should realize that, but it will also create some jobs, or at least allow the job you have to become much more creative, what you were referring to, and not so enmeshed in housekeeping and that sort of thing. Particularly in my field in editing, a lot of it is organized in data, media, ingesting it, outputting it, all that sort of thing, and that can be completely done by AI, which means that you'll have much more opportunity to just do the creative work.
Yeah, that's a great point. So the next question is a follow-up. So you said the new jobs are emerging, and I know we have like very brand new AI startups here. So my question is, what kind of new business models are emerging, and how do you think they will distribute all the revenues? For example, will the model company take the biggest revenue, or will the individual filmmakers still has a make a big difference?
Well, I don't think a model gonna dominate all those things. I think there are three types. The first would be AI model company. The second would be AI platform aggregator. But yeah, and the third one would be an AI distribution platform. But I think there are a lot of competition in the model area. But I think there are a tremendous opportunity in the second and third, especially the distribution. I think in the future it might be more AI native YouTube and Instagram, something like that. But Sora is definitely fail, example,
Yeah, I really like that point. A typical film, when we do it, at least the ones that we do, we would sign close to 150 vendors. So 150 companies are providing services to this one film. I think there's an opportunity there to create AI processes that streamlines each one of these sub-processes. So for example, for accounting, I guess there's going to be a lot of AI run film accounting, for example, and that's a huge opportunity. But also, and I can go on with 150 examples. So I think the overlooked opportunity is behind all the operations that can be optimized with using AI in film, not the creative part.
I think those are great responses. I don't have a lot to add, except that I think there will be jobs that we don't know exist, that currently don't exist, that will appear. And that's going to be the biggest thing. It's just like when in the beginning of cinema, the jobs were more limited because you didn't have color, you didn't have sound. There were a lot of aspects that didn't exist. And then as you started to develop these new technologies, color and sound and so on, and then and eventually visual effects and that sort of thing, you created all these new jobs and new parameters that didn't exist before. So I think a lot of it is yet unseen, but it will appear, and Yeah, and that way it'll benefit still a lot of people, but it will shift, you know.
Thanks for all the suggestions. I also have a question relating to the new media forms, because we know like AI makes something, especially AI agents. I'm not sure people are aware of that. Yeah, so you can easily make 1,000 variants of the same shots or same film. For example, it could be a happy ending for you, could be sad ending for another person. And recently we saw some interactive games which really have very high cinematic quality, but they have different storylines depending on which option you choose. And also we saw like the avatars, especially real-time avatars, where you can just chat with it and it can take you to all around the world and do all things that's based on your response. So do you think it will be an emerging market, and how large will that be? And how would it affect storytelling? Because I imagine if you no longer control the pace of, you started to be able to control the pace of the storytelling. Like I can choose at this moment I wanted to go in this direction, but will that ruin all the like careful plans that the directors and script writers put together? What do you think?
Well, the first thing came out of my mind would be business model. As long as this business model works, I think there will be like the new media. But I think most people want to consume content. They don't want to be a creator. Yeah.
Yeah, you touch on something that is so much on my mind, that is personalized content.
Yeah.
And the opportunities that will open in the industry with personalized content. And I totally agree with Zoey. Not people. I don't think want or could become storytellers. That's extremely difficult to do. Me myself, I've been in the industry for 20 years, and I cannot write half a page of script. But in an interview, I saw something that blew my mind, that with personalized content, with, for example, like there can be the Game of Thrones, HBO, $100 million show, but then people can go and do alternative endings or alternative, and something that can be used for marketing or for other sources of income, in which you take the IP and you create your own version of the IP. But I think that's going to be a whole new set of jobs that today do not exist, and also the income opportunities that today do not exist. I'm very looking forward to that. They won't replace the 100 million Game of Thrones IP.
I think that's a great point. It will be more personalized, and you'll have more choices to create, but it's still, as we've seen, it takes knowing what you're doing. You can't just jump into it if you're going to do this. You need to go to MIT, go to film school, or study the greats or things like that. I think if we let AI completely design these scenarios or these scripts or these stories for us, we'll probably just go to the lowest common denominator in many ways, because it's working off of what it knows. And what's so exciting about creativity is it goes into the realm of the unknown, and that's where the fertile ground is. So, yeah.
I see. So thinking from a different perspective, when I started to watch films, I have a feeling of I'm surrounded by people, and those people are really alive, and that gives me a sense of like warmth and accompanying. So avatars, sorry, I'm very interested in avatars. Will it make a different story? For example, imagine if you, in the future, you have some screens at home, and it won't be just those characters around you. It can be one or even multiple of them. And they can even chat with each other. And that gives you a feeling of family. But they can also have some underlying plot going on, maybe one avatar quarrel with the other avatar, and that all makes you feel, very happy. And also, we can also subscribe to some kind of build companies that write the back-end scripts and try to say, okay, today you need to quarrel, and tomorrow you all need to be like peace and love, and then you should all be very friendly to this owner, which is me. Do you think this kind of, it will be in the near future? This will happen, or it will not? Because I know the real-time avatar and all real-time video production, the cost is getting lower and lower, and it's getting faster and faster without any latency. What do you think?
I'm not familiar with this market, and I think it really depends on different people have different needs. For me, I don't have that need. I'm a very introvert person.
Okay.
I don't want the people surround me, especially like her. Yeah. Like, what if I lost her? And I feel so lonely about it. Yeah. Yeah.
You just described like a cyberpunk version of reality TV, and I would love to see that.
Oh.
I hope it exists, and I'm probably it will. But yeah, I'm also not familiar with that. But it sounds great.
I think it's already exists. I know
Sure.
some like if you watch some like computer science conferences, these models already exist and they are just ready for production, to application. Yeah.
It's a really interesting concept, which I didn't know that you could populate a whole room in a sense with your avatars. It still goes back to like the ancient Greeks in drama, that there was the experience of being with a lot of other people, and I guess you could have they could be avatars, and experiencing the same event and having similar emotions is really the power of it. And right now we're seeing in cinema, of course, there's a dearth of audiences attending the theaters, actually going to the theater. At least that has been the case. Now it actually seems to be turning. But throughout the history of cinema, it kind of has those ups and downs. But I think ultimately people want to be with others and experience something that's really powerful together. It's a different experience than sitting in your living room or your den or whatever on your computer and witnessing these things.
Yeah, and also one of my friends in robotics, I think they believe all those like robotic dogs, cats, and small robots, they can be part of the storytelling itself. So they can also behave. And maybe some people even predict the IP, you can first generate it by films. And then once the IP is established, you can produce some like robots for it. Just like I think on the GTC, Jason Huang showed a very cute Disney character. So do you think that will also have a future? Like it will talk in a way it was designed in the film. Like it will just make it really. So the difference is that typically robot doesn't have a backstory, but now because it's an IP, it has a backstory, and you can start chatting, and it has personalities. Do you think we will see that in the near future?
Yeah, definitely. Cause I remember one of our founder friends already ordered one.
Oh.
Yeah, but it's kind of like expensive, but maybe in the future it's gonna be cheaper.
Actually, only last week I saw the first piece of AI video that moved me. Only the first one that kind of like brought emotion to my soul, you know? I guess probably AI will get there, AI acting will get there. I don't know if robotic acting will get there, like to move emotions. But probably a hybrid of everything, like robotic, AI, human, yeah, for sure that.
It makes me think of the Rick and Morty piece I showed you.
Exactly.
You serve butter, there's a little emotion there. So what was the basic question?
just anything. What do you think?
If robotic.
Oh, if robotically, yeah, I think you probably will have more of that, and you'll have those kind of things happening. But it'll probably be siloed to, I would think, to that particular genre or that particular approach. But I don't know that everybody wants that.
Oh, yeah, we will see. Okay, I think it's about the time, so maybe everybody can say about 2 to 3 sentences about what do you think people we'll be talking about next year at this place? Like, what do you think in this 1 year things will change, like dramatically, especially?
Well, I think this title would be like MIT AI Film Hackathon, but in the future there's no AI, just like film hackathon.
Oh.
And because AI just the technology, right? No one gonna say, oh, I'm using internet, I'm an internet company or something like that, like 30 years ago. So maybe in the future we just say, oh, we're gonna back to the root of the story, and then we're gonna say, oh, your film is really good. I'm not gonna say you're using AI, but your story is pretty impressive, things like that.
Yeah, in those lines, like AI film is kind of like a whole universe. So hopefully we're going to see like craftsmanship specialization. So, like for example, AI acting directing or AI wardrobe, AI, you know. Talking about this film, this piece that I saw this week, I spoke to the director. He works with Runway. He is a director. He was a director of like narrative before, and what he tells me is that he directs he prompts exactly as he directs. So he asks the AI actors to go into an emotional state, to remember that time when they were, you know, like abandoned by whatever, and that is insane because it works.
They can actually remember that.
Right? So you know, it's not really kind of like. I hope we're going to start seeing a specialization within the huge universe of AI.
I like Zoe's point. It's true. We don't say I'm going to call you on my cellular phone anymore. It's just like I call you. That's going to change. One thing I'm curious about, just because I basically work with feature films, is to see if next year we will have seen a couple AI feature films come out, and what the discussion will be about that and how effective they were. And what some of their flaws were, all that, what the shortcomings were of them. But that's, and I think your point is also really good about that you're going to start to see a lot of some even conventional jobs becoming still existing, but becoming in AI.
AI production designer, AI editor, AI.
Thank you.
Do we have time left for questions?
Oh, question. I think you first.
Yeah, I think my question,
No. Oh.
please.
Oh, okay, sorry, thank you.
Sorry about that.
Hi, Tom Lowe, the oldest hacker here. Okay, thank you. I would like to return to a point from Professor Manovich that I'd like to get your opinions on where he said, well, since art evolves to making choices, do you think that AI will be able to develop choices for options for transforming the conceptual space? And that was a question he said was a limitation of AI today. But from an editing perspective, from perspective of new jobs, from perspective of entrepreneurial progress, do you think that we will be able to have some choices for transforming transformational space?
Okay, can I take that?
Yeah.
Sorry with that, because I have big opinions on that. I'm glad you asked that. I think that's one of the aspects, at least in terms of editing and general filmmaking, is making choices and discovering things. And AI could do it. AI could give us multiple choices, and then we have to pick. But I think that would be an advantage. If you don't, the AI just doesn't give you, this is it. This is what you're stuck with. Right. But because I've noticed some of the best work I've experienced was when people had choices that they didn't expect.
Right.
And that's the most important thing, because also the kind of, and there was a slide I was going to show, but unfortunately we didn't have the time, but of where you find accidents and flaws and these little gems that were not intended. Because just like the example of putting the jigsaw puzzle together, if you just put the jigsaw puzzle together exactly as it was supposed to be, it's probably not going to be as, in this this case, it's not going to be as exciting. But if you discover things along the way, that's what makes it organic and human and emotional and vibrant and full. And I see that time and again on every film I've ever worked on. Somehow we're going to have to get to that choice. What are choices? I think that's a great question.
Oh, yes. Thank you very much. I learned a lot today, and one of the bottlenecks in media production is the digital media management. And I see that we spend a lot of time. I have been working for Harvard, and now I'm working for MIT, back and forward. And we are still digging in how can we use AI to take advantage that problem that we have on digital management systems. Is there any app, or are you using any AI to solve this problem?
I can take it. No, I think the opportunities are there. Exactly there. Like everybody's looking at the content creation and how to use AI for that, and not many people, at least from what I know, are looking into, like that's one piece of the puzzle. They're not looking at the other piece. I think the opportunities are there from an entrepreneurial point of view.
Yeah, I thank you for the talk. It's wonderful, and I'm thinking like nowadays on social media and in the beginning of when we see a lot of new models coming out, a lot of content are like so-called like AI slop content, and I wonder in the long term, what do we picture AI video, like what format of it will we picture it to be? Would it mostly be useful and like populated in relative like short video generation? Or do you think people have this strong desire to see more serious AI film work? What do you think will be future like people's expectation of the quality of AI films?
I can take it because, and coming to something that you mentioned about the experience behind going to a film. There is a segment, an industry segment that was kind of like created that is called the experience industry. So now people are going more to concerts, they're going more to live events. So I think that's kind of like the, what's saving film as we know it, is that people still want to do stuff on, collectively. So I guess probably the content that you consume on your own is going to change radically, but the content that you consume collectively and you discuss and you like the Barbie Heimer or like probably that's going to remain.
I think also verticals are kind of an interesting indicator now, like the way verticals have come in, how it's a new form that people are gravitating for, but it's still very limited in its scope, at least right now.
Also, something interesting is that not like very near we're going to interact with the phone, like with speaking, not touching and seeing. So probably social media on its own is going to face a lot of changing paradigms, because we're going to be now speaking to a device and not really like looking and scrolling through a device. So interesting to see that.
Thank you so much. I actually have two questions. First of all is, I think all the AI tools we use right now is most of them is basic on the language. But because my background is filmmaking background, so
Can you be louder? Sorry. You can come to the front if you want to.
Sorry. Sorry. I mean.
You want my mic?
Because I think most of the models we use is basically on the language right now to generate all the content we see from the AI. But I think as a filmmaker, a lot of my friends and also especially some documentary filmmakers, actually they are visual based. Like they first see something, and maybe they firstly, it's like some some visual content. First you come to their mind, and then they can generally to all those footage and to make the final film. So it's not starting from the language itself. So I was just curious about, I don't know, like from your side, is there still some boundaries the AI cannot to achieve even in the futures, and maybe it's just the limited of the models we use right now? Yeah, and this is actually the first thing. I don't know, am I clear about this? And yeah, like because a lot of my, especially some cinematic filmmakers, and a lot of their training was based on visual. Like they first need to catch the picture and then it comes a film. But right now, all those models was first we have to describe and we have to have the script generally to the final film. So this is the first thing. And the second one is
Sorry, we only
Maybe we
have
should try and answer that one first, or speak to that one first, whether if we have all the answers. I think that's a really interesting point, and the visual aspect certainly speaks to some of what I was talking about earlier, is how you bring images together to create a whole other meaning, and the power of that. But I would also suggest that character is a big part of, and your actors, whether they're digital or AI actors or live human beings, the characters that you create are part of what connect us to the story and drive the story forward. So I would say discovering character is a very important part of it as well. The others?
Sorry, I couldn't hear.
Not that the interaction is text to get the video. Is there limitations in that in the models that you have?
I think maybe the limitation would be taste.
Taste?
Yeah, no matter how the world changes a lot, still the taste is always very important, no matter how AI development, or you can see a lot of flaw, even though it's not generated by AI, generated by the real human. There are a lot of flaw on TikTok or like Instagram, but they still have like something really good content. So it's really depend on the individual. Yeah.
I think that's all our discussion. We can take all the questions offline. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you